How's it going, everyone? My name is Nate. Welcome to the Ed Show. I am the owner of Colorado Custom Leather and Blades as well. This show is all about blades. If you're somebody that appreciates good quality steel blades, if you're someone that uses blades on the daily, lives by them, and or like myself makes them, this is the show for you. Again, we talk all things blades. So last week I did a video, kind of a I don't want to say montage, but how I do my scale shaping, and I hope that helps somebody, because in the 7 going on 8 years making knives, you will never say you've learned enough. Okay, I thought I knew everything at 2 years because my blades were really starting to look nice, and I was kind of approaching that progression, that evolution of where you are as a maker. So even if you're just a hobbyist or someone that wants to make a knife for the first time, that's a video that can help you. This week is going to kind of just tailor along with that, and we're going to talk about some safety stuff, some things you can avoid, and just some general things when it comes to making knives that will help you avoid injury. Now, this is not like a OSHA, safety video. I've been doing this for, as I said, for 7+ years, and I still get injuries. I still get marks. You literally put in blood, sweat, and tears in this profession, but it doesn't mean you have to have a catastrophic injury. Doesn't mean it has to kill you. Doesn't mean that you'll be injured to the point where you can no longer do this. Okay, this is a video to help you avoid some of those things, and or not just harm you, but other people around you or your structure or whatever. So it's an important video like this. A lot of people that, pick this up as a hobby, and they're just like, you know what, I got a fire pit, and I got a hair dryer, and I can make heat, and I can make steel hot, and I got this old, piece of steel that's heavy, and it's thick, and it's wide, and I can use that as an anvil. That's a lot of people where they start, and they, hammer the way at that thing with the claw hammer. What is the most dangerous? This is again my point. What is the most dangerous color of steel? When is steel the most dangerous? If you said red or orange or bright yellow, you're right, but you're wrong. It's black. It's gray. This can still be at 400 some odd degrees, enough to burn you. Okay, so this is type of stuff we're going to talk about today. So there's the first one. Black and gray steel is the most dangerous color of steel. What I recommend is put it down in a safe area where it's not going to cause fire or injury or whatever. I put mine on the anvil, and usually I'll mark on the steel in a cooler area with a soapstone and say hot, and I'll usually put the time, or I'll write on my anvil hot, the time where I put this on the anvil, so people know, hey, if it's 10 minutes ago, most likely this thing's going to be 600 degrees still, even though it's not bright orange. Okay, those are just, some safety tips. Another thing, as I said, going in 8 years of this, I've only been bit by about 3 of my blades, and all of them were avoidable. Okay, never ever catch a blade when it's falling. I've done that twice, and luckily this one I felt just the edge of it and I let it go, so it didn't slide entirely because of how the geometry was. Had a nice little curve. It would have sliced probably close to my bone, and luckily I just grabbed it and I let it go, and it cut, but it's not as bad as it could have been. So here's the reality. Blades are going to fall. We have got to train ourselves to let blades fall. My reaction when I see something falling, I want to catch it, or I want to put my foot there to stop it from breaking. And I've been successful at that. But when it comes to knives, you want to be unsuccessful at that. You want to let that blade fall. And if your heat treat's good, it's not going to do a lot of damage. If it hits the edge and it just kind of gives you a little bit of glinting, okay, resharpen it. It's going to happen. Okay, the worst case is you have a fully completed, scales, everything, looks beautiful, falls, you crack your wood handle, you're going to have to start over on your handle. You're going to have to grind all that off, get the epoxy, all that fun stuff. But it's not sticking in your foot. It's not through your hand. It's not slicing your fingers to where you can't close them to keep forging or running a grinder or whatever. You got to let them fall. I probably, in my career as a professional, I will still get bit by my blade by this one mistake. But try to avoid it. Train yourself to let the blade fall. It's just the way it is. Okay, next one. Let's talk about drilling holes the safe way. Right, so when you're drilling holes, if you're doing bladesmithing, after you have your profile and after you have your bevels forged in, if you know how to. I haven't forged the bevels in this guy yet. This was kind of a oops, I went too long type deal. But you see a couple things here. Okay, you don't see an edge, you don't see a tip. There's a couple reasons for that. Even for stock removal people, when you get to the point where you have your profile out, why not go ahead and drill your holes and make your tapers in those holes? I'm trying to think, is it a drift? I'm trying to think what these things are called. I'm drawing a blank. I use them all the time, and I know the name of it, but right now I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, so that's when you want to drill your holes. A lot of people make the mistake of drilling holes after heat treat. One, you're most likely going to have a hardened piece of steel, and it's going to be a pain, and you can end up having a stress fracture. If you do have one already, it's going to set things loose, and you're going to have a crack through your blade, or it's going to break. So what I recommend is these are the steps. If you're forging, forge your profile, your bevels, do a little bit of grinder work, do not get to an edge. The reason why, if this thing picks up and it's swinging this way and it's coming at your body, do you think you're fast enough to move out of the way? Because if you have an edge on that thing or anything remotely close to it, even if it's dull, it will cut you. If you have a tip on this thing and this thing flies off and it flies at you, that's why we don't have tips on our steel until we're ready for completion of the knife. Lesson I learned from several bladesmiths in the past years. You don't forge a tip in for a couple reasons. One, you don't want to burn out the steel because it's going to be the thinnest part of your blade upon heat treat, upon just going into the forge or whatever. And two, when you're still doing work on it, that thing is dangerous even when you're hand sanding. So why not just form in the tip afterwards? And if that thing does somehow get off of that drill press and flies at you, most likely, if you do have a little bit of an edge on that, it's going to pierce your skin, but it's not going to stick in your body. So let's think about that. It's called a tapering step. I just remembered. Sorry. All right, moving on. A safe shop or a clean shop is a safe shop. I just said that backwards. A clean shop is a safe shop. My shop is not clean right now. I just got done finishing 8 knives for a kitchen set order. And I've straightened up my shop, but I've not fully cleaned it. So at least keep your shop straightened every single day when you're starting. Straighten it. At the end of the day, straighten it because you'll avoid tripping and things will be out of the way. You know where they are. It's just a better setup for success. And I'll show you what mine looks like right now and things that I need to fix here before my next series of builds I have to do. So this is unedited. As I said, I have not cleaned up my shop, so we're just going to take a quick look around. And I'm going to point out all the dangers. So this is generally how my left side of my bench works with. And if you actually listen to Jason Knight's advice, you don't let this happen because you have storage shelves and containers. So you have things where you can put them back immediately afterwards. Where I just have this, and I just got to have to make it into a clean looking mess because it's still going to be cluttered. It's still going to have a lot of stuff. So this is unsafe. I would have a lot of this stuff folded. I have some knives buried under here. I don't want to accidentally grab something sharp or pokey. It's a pain in the ass when these things spill over, when all your bits spill all over the place and you lose them. I need to put my drill stuff away. These are all things that are not normally on my desk. Over here, I usually keep all my in the process knives and tools and stuff that's not flammable because right here I have my vise and sparks are going to fly this way, sparks are going to fly this way, and if I have WD-40, if I have rags, if I have all kinds of things that can start fires, that's a no-no. So this is why we want to have a clean workbench when we're starting a project and through the project trying to keep it clean. Putting tools away like files so you don't slip on them if you're running through your shop, which you shouldn't run in the first place. Putting routers and stuff away. These are all things that are going to help avoid stupid injuries. Like I was done one day and on my anvil here, I had that guy and I was testing a knife and I hit it too hard and guess what that thing did? It came and fell and right on my foot and that's at least 20 pounds. It's a blessing I did not break my foot. Continuing, all my oils are contained. All my flammable stuff are contained. Because when you're forging and you have forge scale flying, okay, here, like over underneath that rag over there is acetone, very flammable stuff. I try to move all my flammable stuff to the opposite side of the shop, away from where I am working. Okay, grinder. If you're grinding steel, have a bucket wear respirator, wear eye protection, all simple stuff you should do. I used to do it outside, so I wasn't worried about it. I am now because I'm not sick or anything, God willing, knock on wood. But it's not good for you to, even if it doesn't make you sick, it's not good for your body to inhale. I've even introduced doing a stainless steel piece of mesh right here to catch my steel. That way I can just run a shop vac, clean it up, clean up my banisters, because if you're doing that with wood, if you're grinding wood and then you go to steel, you will start a fire. I've started many little fires. I'm just working, I'm paying attention, I smell smoke and I look, and there's a fire behind my grinder because a spark caught a nice piece of ash wood dust, and it just lights with no problem. And I've also had it underneath my grinder. A lot of people don't shop vac underneath their grinder or even in the vents around there. That'll help the longevity of your grinder last, for one, because you're sucking all the stuff away from the mechanicals of it. Cleaning your shop floor. This is really slippery right here because I have steel grinding everywhere and wood and all that stuff. It is important that you have a clean floor. If not, you work with sand. That's eventually how I want my shop to be. It's a good way to go. Now, if you do have a forge, keep your line as tight as possible off of the surface that it's laying on and away from the top here, just in case you have backflow. The flame's not going to touch this. Now, it's not going to melt instantaneously, but it's a good idea to have a cool surface. You also want to make sure you have a nice surface from the ceiling, and you're far enough away if you're in your garage or you're in a shop that has a garage door where it's not going to mess with any of the mechanics of that, because you don't want your garage door to just fall apart. And then make sure you only have stuff on here that is not going to catch on fire. Fire brick's fine, steel's fine, pans are fine, whatever is fine. But anything that's flammable, get it out of the way. Your tank should be in a safe area. Never lay your tanks down. Never, ever, ever lay your tanks down. Especially if you have a 100-pounder, 20-pounder, doesn't matter. Never lay your tanks down. If you're forge welding, be smart about it. Get welding curtains or something of that nature and put them around your anvil. That way the sparks hit that and they fall to the floor, versus your walls, or if you have wood or trash cans or whatever, you don't want that to happen. Okay, it'll just catch things on fire. So your lesson of the day is avoid fires, avoid injuries. Now, last thing on the grinder, wear gloves. You'll save your fingernails, and if you feel stuff slipping, get a magnet. Put a magnet on the back of that and learn how to do that. I've learned how to do all my bevels by hand. I'm not trying to show off or anything like that. That is just me. I can do my bevels by hand. I don't use jigs, and I have a pretty good success record. I'm just saying. So with that said, wear gloves. You're going to go through them. If you accidentally touch that belt, let me just tell you something. Touching a 36 grit belt on a 2x42 at 3,500 some odd RPMs, you're going to feel that, and it's going to shock, and it's going to be like, oh wow, because you're going to hear it too. But when you feel it on your skin, it does not feel good. I've cut myself on a belt. I've ground my skin with a 60, and I've ground myself with a 120. They both don't feel good. 120 is more of a burn. 60 and below is a cut. It rips your skin off. Not a fun thing to experience. So wear gloves, wear safety glasses or a visor, ear protection. If you're doing this as a hobbyist or a professional like myself, approaching the professional side of things, you want to be able to do this for a long time, regardless of why you're doing this or who you're doing this for. Okay, you want to be able to do this for a long time. The way you do that is to be safe about what you do. Okay, being a man and a little bit of blood. Okay, cool. I've injured my thumbs on both hands in the last 2 weeks, and it sucks because every single time I go to hand sand, I feel it. Every single time I go to pick up a piece of steel to a grinder, I feel it. Everything's more sensitive. You'll avoid worse injury if you use your brain and be safe. So again, a clean shop is a safe shop. That's what I got for you guys. Let me know what you think. God bless. Keep your edges sharp. We'll see you next week.